To be the best that you can be as a young person, you have to know a lot. So it means you have to invest in yourself. And investing in yourself means you have to deny yourself certain things to be the best that you can be. Now, why did I say that communication is the most important of everything that you've heard today? Because if I go to Google online, you're looking for a pen? Okay, not a problem. Just say it, communication is important. You get it.
Thank you, sir.
I'm trying to pitch and justify why communication is the most important. I've worked in different environments. I've worked at the American Embassy in the health field. I worked in infrastructure development at the Millennium Challenge, worked in the energy sector at ZESCO. I'm working in the mining sector. And I have no problem fitting in because I can understand all these businesses simply because I can read and I can ask questions and I would understand the business. If I wanted to study economics, I can enroll today and I'll study economics, right? I graduated from the University of Zambia last week, School of Law, for fun, because I didn't have anything to do. Yes. Now, I know people think, oh, he's telling these stories, he's boasting. Hey, muliko na boasting. But I'm telling you this. I went to the University of Zambia to study law because I want to beef up my own communication career. I studied epidemiology and statistics to beef up my communication career. I studied philosophy and anthropology to do the same, right? So it's important to invest in yourself. You are the most important asset. No one else, and no one should not lie to you, because the information that Mutinta was giving you, if you put your mind to it and read, you will have that information in your head. The information that Doc was giving us here, if you put your mind to it, you can have that information, right? The one thing that you cannot replicate is you and your brain. So you're the most important asset. You're the most important person. So you've got to invest in yourself. Are we together so far? Is that introduction okay?
Yes.
Mulishua? Palibechi guy? Okay. We agreed that you can become what you want to become. Communication is what takes you there. If you're able to write and you're able to speak, you can pretty much do anything. Anything. You can be the most brilliant. If you cannot write and you cannot communicate, sorry. Or you can write, but you write things that people can't understand. So, solar, answer to climate-induced power cuts. Is that true in Zambia? It's true. Okay. Solar, answer to climate. Okay. For how long have we known that we had a problem with power, with hydropower in Zambia? For how long have we known? Time immemorial. Why haven't we done anything about it? So just think about it. Let's move to the next one. You can increase your value by 50% by refining your communication abilities and gaining an extra 500,000 US dollars in value. It is an investment that will pay off for the rest of your career. Public speaking is an asset that will last you 50 to 60 years, says Warren Buffett. Find it and read it. Another guy I will interest you to read is Peter Kaufman. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Glen Air. They supply pneumatic systems to Boeing. He's smart. He's only given one interview in his career, but he's a multi-billionaire. And he's the guy in charge of the portfolio of Berkshire Hathaway. He's not a simple guy. But the one thing he'll tell you, for you to succeed, learn. Not just in class. Invest in yourself. No, the more you know, the less likely you are to make mistakes in the decisions you make, whether in discourse or in life. Let's move, brother. Check your time, please. 15 minutes, we stop. People will tell you that communication is sending a message from one source through a channel to another, right? That's grade 7. From now onwards, remember that communication is the exchange of meaning. Exchange of meaning, that's communication. Whether you do it verbally or non-verbally, if you've exchanged meaning, you've communicated. If you want to jargon, you will say paralinguistic and linguistic features, right? You've communicated. Exchange of meaning. It means I'm shifting my frame of reference, sharing it with you so that you can interpret my words using my frame of reference. Vanveka mami, wapeleka menso mwamba. Nibwezepo. Mumvera chinyanja. Chitonga. Tumakamba vitundu. Ula hachitonga. Ula mbala chitonga. Muli wakuli? Okay, guli umonze. Lalumba. Ali muli tu hetu ambo tuwa mchitonga. Okay. Oh, you don't have your, eh? Okay. For you to communicate, you must understand who you are communicating to. And you must understand the person you are communicating to, right? And the person you are communicating to is the one who is going to dictate what you are going to communicate. You don't dictate what, right? Otherwise you miscommunicate. Sometimes we have assumptions. I just come to you and say, bonjour. Bonjour. Tu veux parler français? So I can assume, but if she doesn't speak the language, then she doesn't have a shared frame of reference with me to interpret the discourse. So that's what we are saying. This is truth and meaning. Our journalists play a critical role in shaping public perceptions of reality. You can read about it on your own, but truth and meaning is a deep subject. Read the works of Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault died in 1984. He wrote a book in 1971 by print and sign, and it's called Power and Knowledge. And he talked about how meaningful discourse is as a result of decisions we make, the social construct. So that's Michel Foucault. He was French. He was a historian, but then he started publishing, like he wrote the Panopticon, the history of sexuality. He wrote Power and Knowledge and, Distorted Reality. So he was very good. So if you find time to read the works of Michel Foucault, I would implore you to do that. Why am I encouraging you to read? Because the more you know, the better the decisions you make. You don't become CEO because you know better than others. It's because you pitch yourself better than others. And people notice you. That's how you get elected on the table. It's not because you are the best. You may have a genius this side and a mediocre guy. The mediocre knows how to present themselves. They understand the business and they are quick to make decisions. They become CEOs. And you remain kumbuyo. Grand narrative, this is the masterpiece of filmmaking or writing books and stories. It's called the grand narrative. My friends, journalists understand this. And it was by our friend Jean-François Routard. He, 1979, Francois came up with this concept that whenever we're telling a story, we're always thinking in certain frames. So you're thinking established order. That order that was established is distorted, and then it is re-established. So you'll see that most of the movies that we watch, if you see them, either they will start on a good note, and then tragedy occurs, then there is a hero who comes to try and restore or revenge. Or Muzambira na bad note, then even Kobwera uyo is of panga, and then order is re-established. So that's how people write stories. Either you start on a sad note, and you end on a good note, and people say, yeah! Or you start on a good note, and you end on a bad note, and it's a tragedy. And people say, why? Things like that. Are we together? It's the same if you watch Impali. The way the plot, though it keeps changing, the different stories in Impali take on the same grand narrative, but one beat. You know, there is a established order, distorted, win. Yeah, there's loss, there's all that. So when you're writing stories or you're writing thesis or you're writing a proposal, please remember the grand narrative. Hi, let's move. I want to talk about ideology because you're university graduates, so I shouldn't be teaching about things you already know. So ideology from a Marxist perspective, because Marx was also inspired by Engels, if you remember. But ideology was highly, Jürgen Habermas played a critical role in it. But if you are from the German school, you will have guys like Martin Heidegger, then you have Charles Peirce Sanders in the American pragmatic system, and then you have people like René Buber, you know, Albert Camus, you know, the French school. Yeah, but they talked about ideology as the creation. Why do we dress up, for example? Because we think we are nude, right? So we dress up to do what? To cover what? What? To cover what? Nakedness. Who says that? And how did we come up with that? Because we know who we are, right? But we have created nudity as a system of meaning, and we somehow have to cover it. And I don't understand it. 15 minutes, so say mami. How many more minutes? 5? 3. Okay, we'll be done. Let's go back. So I gave you that narrative. I talked about this grand narrative. I was coming to journalists, but this is basic, but consistency. Now, economists, you would know that if you want to be rich, do it bit by bit, consistently, over a long period of time, right? You will get rich. There is no doubt. If you guys started investing $50 today, every month or every week, whatever, over the next 50 years, you will have money. There is no doubt. You call it compound interest, right? Yeah. Life is like that. You make good choices now, small good choices over a long period of time. Aristotle will tell you you have a good habit. And that good habit will form strong character. And that strong character will create a resilience. Don't make big decisions and become, just small ones, good ones. And the best way to be wise is to look at the mistakes people make and avoid them. You will be wise. I'm telling you. What kills people, if you know what kills people, and we all know, just avoid them, and you'll be good. Let's move. Stories. Now, this is important. I'll share the presentation. This is important. How do you tell your story? Now, if you're a PhD student, your thesis is a story. Masters, your thesis is a story. BA, your thesis is a story. If you're going into an interview before a panel, it's a story. I can guarantee you, I've never gone into an interview and failed an interview. Niboza. If I'm writing a proposal for funding, that I can assure you, a proposal for funding is a story. The same format I'm going to talk about is the format you use to write a story. A proposal for funding, you go into an interview, you find a panel seated, they ask you the first question, you tell them a story. And they will have no other questions. You just walk out and they say, I know a man you. Because you sell your story. And how do you sell that story? That's the purpose. How many more minutes? 2 or 3. Mami, seriously, tufunika kujob. 1 minute. Okay, I'll wind down. Move to the next. So, go back. Create emotion and drive action from target audiences and take in investment. So it's in time and sometimes also to create and share stories. Content, you are just sharing information. But when you tell a story, you are relating not only to the mental faculties, but also to the emotion. And you must relate to what people relate to before you bring them to the intellectual discourse. That's how you tell a story. And you tell a compelling story. So I went to the US, Capitol Hill, where I gave a lecture. We were pitching actually the project at the Millennium Challenge. And this is what I told them. They were funding water supply systems in Zambia. And I said, look, all of you here probably had a bath this morning. You had a cup of coffee. You had a cup of tea. And maybe you had a glass of water. Yeah, I know. Yes. You had a cup of water. But the one thing I can assure you is that you don't even think about it. There are people in Lusaka today, in Mtendere, or in the rural areas, but just talk about the urban areas, who see water as a luxury. There are women who have to push drums 5 kilometers every day. There's a young girl who has to go and wash clothes 5 kilometers from my house, leaving home at about 4:30 in the morning, or coming to Unza to come and get water. The taxpayers from the American people has made it possible for these women and for these girls to have water in their household. 9,897 households in Tendere today have water. And there is a toilet as well that so many people take for granted. The economic rate of return is at 13%. Increase in household income in Mtendere is as a result of the taxpayers' money. Your money is not going to waste. The Americans stood up and started clapping. What have I done? I've given you a story. But where did I start? First, I want people to feel, right? And how do they feel? By asking them to put themselves in the shoes of the people in Mtendere, and then giving them the facts and the numbers. Then we can write a story like that. Tizaka series the next time. Thank you. The slide is continuous. You can continue. So continue. When you start writing, you pay attention to this process in writing a story. When you develop your purpose, even for the PhD, it's the same. You start with the M, and then the M, you break it down into specific objectives. Specific objectives will give you a methodology. The methodology has methods and all those elements. Keep going. So that's a strategic cycle. So I was going to just to unpack it and break it, but I will share this presentation, and if possible, some notes. But I'm telling you, you master just that one. Be simple. That's what I say. So the highest form of learning is not genius. It's simplicity. If you can break down a complex concept into simple concept, so journalists for stories in energy, just follow that trajectory.